This could go on for infinity. Color coded just to keep me sane. My world is finally starting to take.
Confident person. I will set a good example for others, and I am proud to be a member of the TKA family.
I see the stars and the planets soon follow. Expect to have the universe by tomorrow. Just sit back and relax, don't worry. The world can wait. No need to hurry.
So I used to take martial arts, guys, when I was younger, from 2nd grade till the beginning of middle school. I took my black belt test when I was 12. Now, later on in life, you take another black belt test again to basically prove you're worthy of that belt. So for those of you like, oh, how could you get a black belt when you're 12 years old? There's different degrees to it. And just because someone has a black belt doesn't mean they can't lose a fight to like a yellow belt or a white belt, which is like the beginning belt, right? It's very circumstantial, very situational. It just all depends. But let me tell you this right now. A lot of people who say, oh, Taekwondo sucks. If you've been training any martial art for a considerable portion of your life, and let's say you still train martial arts, you'll win most fights, especially against people who don't take any martial arts, right? Even if you get in a street fight. Now, People make a really good point when they say street fights could end up in certain situations where Taekwondo isn't the most useful art form when it comes to techniques. Very true. That's why I recommend people to take jiu-jitsu, judo, grappling. Most fights end up on the ground. But it can't hurt to take any martial art. Utilizing your legs is important, and in Taekwondo you actually start touching on other martial arts within this martial art, right? And let me tell you a certain situation that made me understand, yo, Taekwondo could like knock someone out. Like, this is the shit. This isn't what people think it is. Because I used to be a hater myself, even when I first started doing it. So I would have a lot of dominant fights, right? I would win a lot of sparring matches. I fought a lot of, crappy people or whatever. And as I got, more and more experience, I got better myself. And I just thought, it was cool. But, when I see kids fighting at school, they're not using Taekwondo like that. I don't see it used. So I fight a kid my age, right? Keep in mind, we go to the same exact school. And we have the same after-school program. We take martial arts, right? And we end up sparring each other. I'm like, a yellow belt or a green belt, one of the beginner belts. And so is he, right? He gets me with a reverse jumping side kick right to the gut. And I shit you not, man. I was there coughing. I was there, couldn't breathe. Couldn't breathe. Almost knocked out on the floor. I felt like I needed to throw up everywhere. And at the moment I realized if I were in a street fight, I would have been knocked out on the ground. Asking that guy for forgiveness. Asking that guy to give me some fucking water. You know what I mean? There was a bunch of adults holding me up. Like, any martial art is good to learn. And if you could utilize your legs, which are much more powerful than your arms, that's absolutely amazing. So that converted me from a hater of this martial art when I first started taking it to someone who understood just how useful this could be. A nasty backward spinning heel kick with a bunch of momentum to the liver. Is it going to shoot a guy's liver? Oh, it'll get you more than buzzed. And in a way, I regret not continuing martial arts. I decided to, study, go to school on some Gohan. I stopped taking martial arts, and then, I started taking up different activities. Eventually I came across YouTube, of course. Now, in a way, my dad got me into Naruto, and let me explain. So, my dad's first business was with a guy named Magic Johnson. He was a basketball player, right? He actually had businesses before then, but this is what eventually led to me watching Naruto. So my dad had this credit card business with this basketball player named Magic Johnson, who he eventually sued, by the way. And when that business ended up failing, and it was supposed to go like a lot of places, my dad started managing fighters. He started managing UFC fighters. He, managed Rampage Jackson during his fight against Chuck Liddell. He also managed Fedor Emelianenko, My dad got involved heavily in the fighting culture. He met with the Gracie family. These are guys very vital in the creation of like modern jiu-jitsu. One of the fighters he managed the longest is a guy named Hermes Franca. Now, you won't know a lot of these names if you don't actually follow UFC fights, but he even met with Hillary Clinton to talk about like starting up, a program for kids, younger kids with a bunch of different fighters to help them grow and mature and gain confidence. Martial arts was something that could attract a lot of people, and a lot of people saw the potential in it. So my dad thought, why not put Richard, who's a spoiled brat, into martial arts? And at first I hated it, but eventually you learn from it. You get discipline from it. I couldn't escape from it. I had to do this. So eventually you just learn how to love it, and then you really start to get the fruits of all the work you put in, all those failed kicks, all those times when I felt like the odd one out, all those times when I felt like, I'm gonna quit. I didn't quit, I kept going. So as a result of my dad's first failed business, him going into UFC, managing fighters, getting involved in the fighting culture, putting me in Taekwondo, I now started to learn how to fight. And it was around this time when I started watching Naruto, around the second grade, 06, 07. And man, I remember like when I saw these ninjas going at it with taijutsu, when I saw how cool Sasuke was, I'm like, I want to be like Sasuke in Academy. I want to be like Sasuke in TKA, basically the name of my school. I wanted to be the cool one, and I wasn't. There were so many other kids better looking than me, better fighters than me, everything, and I couldn't get on their level until I started training more and more and more. And at this point in time, guys, believe it or not, I was straight. I only like girls, I only talk to girls, I didn't think about guys like that. Maybe subconsciously I'd recognize, a guy's good looking, but never thought about like sexual things with that, you know, dude. Like, it was only until later on in life, maybe, you know, 13, 14 years old, when I started developing attractions. Like, I started fapping to like Light Yagami in the Death Note manga, and then, you know, eventually it spilled over to like Northern European guys and stuff like, you know, I'm not going to tell this whole gay story, but all I can say is this was circumstantial. If I didn't, you know, go into fighting and I maybe, you know, decided to watch Disney Channel all day instead, maybe I wouldn't have been into Naruto. That could have indeed happened, man. There was times in school where, you know, the school system, the education system, they fed you a lot of like, you know, lovey-dovey, pussy stuff, and don't get me wrong, I understand that the world is better to have more peaceful people than people who always want to fight, alright? But at the same time, when you're young, you could use some masculinity, especially as a boy, especially if you lack confidence, which I myself lacked for, you know, a good period of time when I was younger. So, moral of the story is, if you see something good that's giving a lot of people great benefits, do it, even if it looks uncomfortable, even if it looks like you hate it at first, right? And you might hate it for a while. Do it, because in the end you might become a stronger person because of it. And while it might have not seemed like the right decision to make at the time, sometimes it's the decisions that don't seem right at the time that are actually the right decisions in the long run. Now, I also recommend you guys do meditation. Meditation is one of the things that ultimately saved my life. You know, if I'm ever having a bad day, I close my eyes for 30 minutes, clear my entire mind, and go run on the beach, or go run outside, or go talk to my friend about history, about anime, about politics, about different, you know, subjects. Meditation, you know, frees you. Do yoga, do stretching, play a sport, do something that, you know, gets blood pumping throughout your body, because that's what a lot of us need, man. We're human beings. We could sit on the computer all day. I sit on the computer 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes. I'm at home. I'm, you know, not using my body how it's, you know, evolutionarily speaking, supposed to be used. And that developed myself some anxiety, some depression. But you got to do things in your life to pleasure yourself, give yourself that endorphins rush. And the most natural way to give yourself an endorphins rush is to exercise. And the best way to clear your mind is just to close your eyes. You don't have to take drugs. You don't have to masturbate and have, you know, sex all the time with different people. You can actually do things by yourself that strengthens your personality. That being said, for those of you who are interested, I hope you enjoyed. If you're not interested in anything I said up until this point, I'm sorry I disappointed you. Go find another guy's videos to watch. I don't, you know, this is not for the people that don't care about Double4anime. It's the people that have been riding with me for the longest time. And if you only like anime reviews, that's cool too. I don't blame you, alright? But yeah, I thought I'd share this because it was a big piece of my life, and I never really shared it with you guys, and I do want to get to know you guys better, because sometimes it feels like I just drop the reviews, you guys see what I'm presenting to you in the video, which is only one piece of